misrepresentation which resulted in a miscarriage of justice at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. Now, in Article 35 grounds notice of appeal, he is asking the court to allow him bring in fresh evidence against Tinubu, which would be his findings from the Chicago State University. On the other hand, Obi, in 51 grounds notice of appeal, is challenging Tinubu's forfeiture of $460,000 in the U.S., inability to secure 25% of valid votes in the FCT, and failure of INEC to electronically transmit election results. That's what Obi has in a 73-page notice of appeal that is before the Supreme Court. That of the Allied People's Movement, as APM, was immediately dismissed by the 7-man panel of the Apex Court. Let's see how this went down on the space of social media. Austin Offer says, normally they wouldn't dare strike it out as it will be so suspicious, but trusts they will eventually dismiss all petitions during the judgment. Now APC's rule with day, no court ruling there goes against them. So fellow Nigerians, expect the usual. For this user, I am Sam, says the Supreme Court of Nigeria is trying to rush everything before FBI release the Tinubu files. More reactions to this is coming in from another user who says, tweeting at African Unifier, he says, Nigeria doesn't have the capacity to remove a sitting president. All the judiciary executives are all stomach infrastructure beings. But one day, Nigeria will rise up and chant, we had enough. But until today, I am still waiting for the one day. For Emmanuel, you can relocate to another country if you're not happy with the judgment. Tinubu is the president. Simple as that. Oh, well, the Supreme Court will decide who remains or who becomes the president. Now, as interested persons count down to the release of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's records by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, that's FBI, and Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, Tinubu has, in a fresh appeal, asked the court to stop their action. The argument of his lawyer, that's Brian A. Kare, is that Tinubu will be adversely affected if the U.S. top security agencies go ahead to release in batches the 2,500 pages, as they noted. I mean, it's the end of October already, and they said they were going to do that consecutively for about 5 months. 500 pages monthly from October. So here we are anticipating that record if the court doesn't rule otherwise. Now, Mr. Worryshop says, now, wow, how can the Nigerian president be filing objections up and down? Is that in itself not a sense of guilt? Auntie Agbado says the energy Tinubu is using to hide his past and identity. If he focused 50% of that energy in fixing Nigeria, dollar won't be 1,210 naira today, and inflation rates won't have increased to 26.72%, but here we are. For Evans, he says, is it not the federal government, or does he think it will be a concern to us if it wasn't at the helm of the federal government? So he was saying that whatever will happen would affect the federal government.
Today, I'll be giving us updates on what happened today at the Supreme Court in the case between Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, and the APM against Tinubu. So the Supreme Court today dismissed the appeal of the APM against Tinubu, saying that he lacked merit and has been decided before now. And also in the case of Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar against Tinubu, the reserved judgment saying that a new date will be communicated to the parties in due time. So this is what they said, and we know that Atiku Abubakar is praying the court so that he can admit fresh evidence in his case, while Peter Obi is asking the court to disqualify Tinubu on the grounds of certificate forgery, forfeiture, 25% in Abuja, and the fact that he did not win the 2023 presidential election. So the court today said that they are going to give us a date when the judgment will be done in this case that have been presented before them. I'll be giving us details on this and more. But before we go fully into this, I would like us to do well to like this video and please subscribe to our channel so you get notification whenever we post a new update. See the way Sahara reporters reported APM's own case. They said Supreme Court dismisses APM's appeal against President Tinubu Shettima. The Supreme Court has dismissed the appeal filed by the Allied People's Movement (APM) challenging the nomination of Kashim Shettima as the vice presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress (APC) in the last presidential election. A 7-member panel headed by Justice John Okoro pronounced the dismissal of the appeal after the appellant's lawyer, Chukwuma Majuku Ume, applied to withdraw it. Members of the panel had, at the mention of the appeal, noted that it was frivolous because the Supreme Court had, in the earlier case of People's Democratic Party (PDP) versus INEC and others, resolved the issue that Shettima was properly nominated. Justice Okoro pointedly asked Ume what he thought his clients would benefit from the outcome of the case, if not only to further overburden the court. Ume had made efforts to distinguish his client's case from that of the PDP versus INEC and others, but later had a change of mind when Justice Okoro insisted that the appeal lacked any utilitarian value. The APM had asked the Supreme Court to dismiss the objections raised by President Bola Tinubu and his vice, Kashim Shettima, against the appeal seeking to upturn the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Court. The party claimed that the objections by Tinubu and Shettima were incompetent and frivolous in nature. So this is what they appealed to the Supreme Court saying, but the Supreme Court said they are not going to accept what they are saying because they are not going to use it. And one of the questions that the judge asked was that, what is it going to benefit to you? It's not possible for your candidate to become the president. So why are you fighting about this matter in court? And then the lawyer went ahead to withdraw the case. So that was how the APM's own case was dismissed. About Peter Obi and the Labour Party's appeal that Tinubu did not win the 2023 presidential election and their appeal to invalidate his election, the court has reserved judgment, saying that they're going to communicate a new date for the judgment. And that's the same thing they said in Atiku's own case, where he's trying to bring the evidence he brought from Chicago State University. They said they're going to give a new date for the judgment of these particular cases. Reacting to what happened today at the Supreme Court, this person here is raising a question of what happened in the Supreme Court, where the Justice Okoro-led panel was talking that the letter from Chicago State University and the deposition that Atiku said he collected from them, that there's conflict in it, that is not tallying. So he is actually saying that this might actually be what they will ride on to give their judgment. I'll be showing us what he said and other people's reaction on this case. He said, on the Supreme Court, Justice Okoro's stance on conflicting letters from Chicago State University. 1. I have been saying this about the forgery, which is criminal in nature, that requires to be proven beyond all reasonable doubt. 2. The job of the defendant and his lawyers in such a trial is to manage to sow a seed of doubt, no matter how little. 3. The whole affidavit and the positions from CSU officials clearly casted reasonable doubt whether or not Tinubu submitted forged certificate to INEC contrary to Section 137, subsection 1J of the Constitution. 4. It is settled in law that any reasonable doubt is beneficial to the accused, that nearly cannot kill a bird. This is disturbing and dangerous to Nigeria and Nigerians. Another person here also reacting to this said, a forged certificate was submitted to INEC. That is the only thing that matters in this case. And this is it. That's the only thing that matters in this case. the fact that Tinubu submitted a forged Chicago State University certificate to INEC, and it is against the law of the land that states that in any case of forgery, the person must be disqualified. So according to the law, he is meant to be disqualified. And that person here said to me, there is no confusion in this matter. Both the unverified letter from Chicago and the under the oath court deposition are saying same thing. The diploma certificate Tinubu presented to INEC did not come from CSU. It was forged, and our law has a clear stand on that. And this is like what this person just said now. It is clear, both from the letter, from the deposition, that indeed Tinubu forged his Chicago State University certificate. So that's what the court and the judges are meant to ride on, not trying to look for technicalities to dissolve this matter before them. Also reacting to what happened today at the Supreme Court, this person here said, poverty should not be ruled out in this application. I'm sure you are with me. Looking at the judges' faces, in my heart and opinion, I can't see justice, but if it happens, which I still doubt, would be a miracle, though this word doesn't validate position of a profane. Another person here said technicalities about to take center stage again. Another person here also reacted and said, at the end, we will judge the judges according to their performance. And that's it. Nigerians are not foolish. Nigerians know the law, and we are watching what they will give to us based on the law and not based on technicalities. And if they base their judgment on technicality, Nigerians will be able to fish it out, and even the whole world at large will know what they have done. This person here also reacted and said, when justice is dethroned, the pillars of society crumble into a bedlam of despair, for it is justice alone that steadies the ship of state amidst tempestuous seas of discord. This person here also reacted and said, the first sign to worry about the Supreme Court: 1. The aroma of the fat stirs the substance of the pool. 2. Justice John Inyang Okoro asked which documents should be accepted as superior. 1. Letter from Chicago State University, or 2. Deposition made under oath by Chicago State University on the same subject matter. 3. Magistrate Judge Jeffrey and Judge Nancy in the U.S. District Court of Illinois, Northern Division. Knowing the importance of the discovery, Atiku Abubakar 6 insisted that whatever document Chicago State University will provide to him must be deposed under oath to grant them undeniable authenticity. Now here you are, a justice of Nigeria's Supreme Court is asking which is more relevant, a mere letter and a legal deposition in the same source by the same institution. Weird. 4. This is like asking which is more authentic proof of paternity: 1. A father's name recorded in the birth certificate, and 2. The DNA paternity test. 5. This question by Justice Okoro is the first sign that justice may not be obtained from the Supreme Court in this matter by way of technicalities. 6. All I can say is that Nigerians must start getting ready to take back their country by themselves by force, while we hope that the Honorable Justice was merely pulling the legs of the councils by that poor question. 7. Nigeria must be fixed, and there is no postponement this time. 8. The justices of the Supreme Court on this petition had better not throw Nigeria into unrest in a case that is pretty much rested by overwhelming evidence. 9. Nigerians await. And this is it. Nigerians await, because this is a case that the evidence is just so massive. There is no two way about this, that you just have to admit this evidence and you have to work with the evidence and in turn disqualify Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Also reacting to this person here said, we can easily tell what the decision of the Supreme Court will be from their statement today. Imagine saying the CSU certificate saga of Tinubu is a matter of national unity. Their decision will be informed by sentiments and not by facts and law. Another person here said, nobody will disqualify Tinubu The only option is to protest. If they decide to forget and wait for 2027 election, they will still rig it and nothing will be done. But until Nigerians wake up and decide to fight back by a peaceful protest, this is what this person here is calling for, that no matter how we fight in the court, no matter the evidence that Nigerians present, that these people will go ahead to buy their way and ensure that they retain power. Also reacting to this, another person here said, will Nigeria ever be free from criminals? This person here said that we reserve judgment and still eat corn. The judiciary bears the responsibility of saving Nigeria from all this mess caused by INEC and APC. You guys should just stop wasting your time on this issue. Even appeal safe can't do anything. Let's just keep praying to God to deliver us. This is what this person here is saying. He has given up on the Supreme Court. He's just saying that at this point in time, he does not believe that the judiciary will do the right thing, that all we have to do as well-meaning Nigerians is to pray to God. Another person here also reacted and said, no matter the outcome of the Supreme Court case involving the presidential candidates in the last election, one thing is very clear. The future of our country is at stake. Irrespective of who wins, we all want a working and successful Nigeria, and citizens who will face the consequences of the choices we are making now and have made in the past. Our nations need total rebuilding and remaking. Our nation is in a sorry state. We have made mockery of ourselves, and our future is in jeopardy if nothing is done. We have to make tough choices, ask ourselves hard questions, be brutal and honest about situations, and challenge irresponsibility. We have denied this country a proper treatment, and she is bleeding profusely. Nigerians desire the brand of leadership that is not built on personal ambition, but a leadership that aims to lift and improve the lives of Nigerians to a higher station and standard of living. The question is not, are we better off than we were 4 years ago? The real question should be, how can we, all of us, especially the weak and the vulnerable, be better off in the future? Our choices and actions now will determine that. Thank you. And this is it. And this is actually a clear message to the Supreme Court that they have to do the right thing. No matter what this person says, that regardless of who is in power, who is in power actually determines if we are going to get the good leadership that Nigerians are clamoring for. Yes, Nigerians are clamoring for a good leadership. Nigerians are clamoring for a better leader, but it cannot come when the person that is in power is a certificate forger. It cannot come when the person that is in power fought his way to be there. It cannot come when the person is actually not riding on the mandate of the people, but for himself. That's why it is actually a clear message for the judiciary to do the right thing, so that the person that Nigerians voted into power can come into power, and so that we can begin to enjoy the dividends of democracy. This person here reacted and said, great, expecting justice is like expecting a miracle. Another person here said, the Supreme Court justices can't sack Tinubu, who is their boss. You can't lead in Nigeria unless you have a criminal trait. This is how they were given opening ear at the tribunal. But in the end, it was APC's lawyer script, after a lot of homework, applied technicality to destroy the constitution. It will be devastating if Supreme Court does same, as it will be antecedent to the lower courts. They should not deceive us. We already know the judgment. They have already agreed on what to do and how to do what to do. But only time will tell. God is watching. This person here reacted and said, another person here said, this is a hawk on APC throat. Let's see which technicality will precede evidence before the court. Let's see if technicality should be upheld rather than evidence, because the court is a court of evidence. And this is it. Let's see if at the end of the day, the Supreme Court will go the way of technicality or we use our constitution to give Nigerians justice. This person here reacted and said, Wole Olanipekun-san for Bat and Shetima said Atiku's fresh evidence is an application in Wonderland and has no merit. He urged the court to dismiss it, stating that the court is bound by the law and the law must be interpreted as it is. Akin Olujimi-san for APC added that the application not only lacks merit but is misconceived. He also urged the court to dismiss it. He went on to say you cannot smuggle in documents at the Supreme Court without first tendering same at the trial court, that's appeal court, and they are still bringing this same matter that has been settled, saying that the Supreme Court cannot accept fresh evidence, which according to the law, we all know that the Supreme Court can accept fresh evidence. This person here said INEC is shameless. They are defending evil. Are they not supposed to be independent and unbiased? And this is why we are calling for a reform in the INEC. INEC is meant to be an independent body, but that's not what we are seeing in Nigeria today, because they are fighting for a particular politician. They are struggling so that he can remain in power because he obviously paid them and he has obviously bought them over. All we can say at this point in time, as well-meaning Nigeria, is that the Supreme Court should ensure that they do the right thing and give Nigerians justice. They should avoid going the way of technicality, just like the appeal court did, but to ensure that they give Nigerians justice in this case. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video.
Being the final arbiter should be a lot more flexible and allow the interests of the Nigerian people see justice, on its journey. Let it not be evasive. For once, can't we just function as sane, intelligent, human beings? Must we do everything like it's some secret? It's not a secret. Whatever process that we're asking for, we're here because we want the good of the nation. So the Supreme Court ought, for me, from my opinion, ought to have been a lot more flexible than what I'm seeing. But let's see how it goes. I hope that these whole processes will eventually give us justice. That's what's important. Let it give us justice. That's what the Nigerian people want.
So, so far, you have seen some prominent people, go into the courts. We've seen Ganduje. We've seen your good friend Nehu Ribadu.
Yes, the chief of staff to the president. I saw them. Of course, they're the boss. They're the big boys in town. So they're naturally
all now inside the court.
Yeah.
What is your expectation coming out? What do you expect will happen in court today? I had a conversation with Vincent Otokubu, who is one of the legal representation of the Labour Party. He is of the opinion that Nigerians might even be surprised that today the Supreme Court may even deliver judgment. That is not only hearing, that they can hear and deliver judgment and say, their reasons will be given later. But having followed keenly as a keen observer from the appeal court to here, what do you, as a Nigerian, expect?
Listen, the truth is that I'm a Nigerian who has lived almost all his life in Nigeria. So I'm not one of those Nigerians who eloped and eventually probably found their way back home. No. I am thoroughly based here. So I'll tell you that this is our story. The worst we have seen in Nigeria is that we had a president who the Supreme Court affirmed his presidency even when his identity and his Csu Cert as he presented was questionable. And that president served for 8 years and nothing happened. So heaven didn't fall. You see, but this one is a peculiar case. We have a case here of integrity. We have a case of forgery here, where the #1 citizen of the nation, who is supposed to be the marketer-in-chief of the nation, is said to be a forger. Is said to have questionable educational certificate and all of that. And so, for us, first of all, that is something that should concern all Nigerians, including their law justices, because they are Nigerians first before being judges of the Supreme Court. So that is the case here. But are we going to be surprised if the worst happens? Like you said, if, for instance, they now wake up here and give us judgment and say, they will now, revert
reasons.
to us later and all that. Well, it won't be a surprise. We have seen the worst. However, I haven't lost hope in Nigeria. We just need to uphold this value that should be resident in our heart, that this is our land. However it be in our land, we can fix it. If we are facing a situation today where we are having a forger as president, one day the constitution also provides for when his tenure will elapse. So we shouldn't give up on our nation because of a few bad eggs, a few bad criminals that have captured power. That's not what should happen to us. But however, I'm not expecting a miracle from the Supreme Court. I'm not, sincerely. I just want to hear them say that the system of election in Nigeria henceforth should be grab it and run with it. And then you can be anything. And then they should stop harassing Yahoo Yahoo. If they uphold this, then Yahoo Yahoo boys should be allowed to function. It's as simple as that. If we don't do that, then there's no justice in the land, and I will continue to have chaos. Nigeria is a great nation, and the black community on earth will not be respected until the black man, realizes that this is the highest gathering of black people on earth. If Nigeria does not rise, Africa will not get up. And if Africa doesn't get up, the black man will not be respected. So their Lord Justices owe themselves a duty to make a name for themselves, save the nation, and save the judiciary. The judiciary is under trial. That's the truth. Atiku has no case here. P2B has no case here. Tinubu has no case here. The judiciary has a case. They have to tell the Nigerian people and the world that this system, as INEC gives us, whenever they want to have election, is not what should be upheld. That the system we should go with is grab it and run with it, and then we'll take to chaos. And the land will now become a crime scene. That's what it will be.
That's an awful lot you've just said within this short period of time. Nnamdi Dixon Yoruba, it's a pleasure having you here. Let's watch and see how things will unfold. We'll probably have to speak to you more as events unfold. Thank you very much for speaking to us and to our live audience here on Ginger Media TV. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I like it.
Ginger.
You know the pick on now.
No, last time well, that's other cake more. I got to meet us for so that check I forgot putting in with one update. That is the date of the court. So tell me for that date came out. Yeah, they did their list.
I didn't even know they were going to do it.
So may we know you, brother?
My name is UC Maxwell.
UC Maxwell, for those of you who do not know him, is one of those violent spacers on the Twitter street, now X. UC Maxwell, you're welcome to Ginger Media.
Thank you very much.
Can you tell us the minds of young Nigerians that are on Twitter spaces? The ones that their voices are not being heard, but here at the Supreme Court of Nigeria, you represent them, and can you kindly speak their mind?
Okay. Well, I believe that I will not just be speaking the minds of, those who are on Twitter spaces alone. I'll be speaking the mind of a lot of young Nigerians out there, both the ones that do not have money anymore to afford data to even come on Twitter spaces. You see, there is a problem within the Nigerian political space, within the Nigerian judicial space, and the Nigerian leadership space, because these three spaces have an issue currently that a person whom a majority of people did not vote for have been selected and put in the place of position. Not only that, the people did not vote for this person has been, caught in the web of several criminalities, corruption, and disqualifications under the provisions of the law. So the minds of youths around the world, around Nigeria, is just one and the same, that we do not want a person who has been disqualified by the provisions of the law to hold political office. We don't want people who, are certificate forgers. Of course, evidences show, documents show that the certificates that Bola Tinubu presented to INEC was forged when you go through the Chicago State University deposition, which Atiku got from America, and several other documents. So it's just one statement. We don't want a certificate forger. We don't want a person with so much baggage having forfeited or having been fined $460,000 as fine for narcotic trafficking and money laundering. So that's what it is, and it's unfortunate that a lot of these youths cannot even have their voices heard anymore, because when they have the opportunity to even speak up, they are being clamped down on by security operatives, the police, the DSS, the military, treated in several ways that are unconstitutional and violate their fundamental rights.
So, you see, Maswell, if by any chance the Supreme Court upholds the decision made by the appeal court, as a young Nigerian, understanding what the younger Nigerians think, what do you think will be the next step for them to take?
Well, first, it was preposterous for the Court of Appeal to have even issued that judgment in the first place. I called the judgment a deliberate, careless, and perverse judgment. That is the term I call it, because the judgment does not even fall within the ambit of the law. The law is very clear. Section 137 sub 1 paragraph J, Section 137 sub 1 paragraph D, and several other provisions. And the fact that INEC, of course, failed to even stick to their rules of engagement. So it was already a sorry state for Nigeria that the Court of Appeal upheld that election. And then we are here waiting for the Supreme Court judgment. But I want to say categorically and unequivocally that if the Supreme Court goes into the business of the day and affirms that judgment, it will be an abuse on democracy, because the very fundamentals of a democratic society is that the people have the power to decide who should rule them. The election, the result that was announced by that election, is not the will of the people. So you are defeating the very fundamentals of democracy if the Supreme Court upholds, that election. And I want to say that going forward, the youths would have been given a legal privilege or a legal backing to go into the business of forgery, submit forged documents, and vie for political offices. We have people who are undergoing several criminal sentences before the court, who are in prison and the rest. It means that when they come out someday, they would have the leverage to come and compete with people who have, held themselves to high esteem in character and in conscience, to lead the country, Nigeria. So if the Supreme Court upholds that judgment, they're only inviting anarchy to Nigeria.
Now, many also have argued, like you slightly pointed out now, that in the case of Mesoma, who is also a youth, that, at some point she was punished swiftly. But in this case, it appears that the punishment as to regards to certificate forgery is left for only the court to do. But you recall that in the case of Evans and Werem, the former Senate president, his own action was swift and he didn't go to court, or he was not prosecuted in court. The Senate then did justice. So what do you think is preventing this case from proceeding the way many Nigerians would think it should?
First, it is rather unfortunate that the person in question, Bola Tinubu, has not resigned from office. You could remember in 1999 the case of Salisu Buhari, where he was found to have falsified documents or to have forged documents. He simply resigned, and he faced the wrath of the law. It's unfortunate that we now have different strokes for different folks when it comes to the law, that you need to treat Mesoma differently than you would treat Bola Tinubu. For a person like Mesoma, the National Assembly was very swift to set up a panel or a committee. She was immediately, the Anambra State government did a lot of things to see that that case was dispensed with. And you would agree with me that without going to court, the entirety or the generality of people called Mesoma a forger of documents without a court pronouncement. So I even feel worried that people are afraid to call this even to call it a case of forgery. If you can call Mesoma's own a forged case, why can't you call Bola Tinubu? So it's unfortunate that we now have different measures in Nigeria. Bola Tinubu is not different from every other well-meaning Nigerian out there.
we all share the same rights. In fact, the immunity which he may enjoy today is not on him, but on the office of presidency. So even the day he steps out of that place, the immunity goes up. So there's no special status that Bola Tinubu, enjoys. Whatever has been used, whatever is the measure of justice that has been used for every other case, Evans Eweren, Mesoma, Salisu Buhari, the former or the man who was about to be sworn in as deputy governor of Bayelsa State, and several others. Even you remember the case of Uche Wonsu in 2019, which is even still before the Supreme Court today. So these are the issues, and Bola Tinubu must be treated in the same manner like all these other people.
Thank you very much. We will keep speaking to many of you as this case progresses. Thank you very much once more, Yusuf Maswa.
Thank you.